I had a very weird dream last night, and it was so unusual to me because I never dream about hurting people or me getting physically harmed. I have dreams about getting hurt, like emotionally or like, mentally, but the term is usually called murder dreams. And from different psychological perspectives, it's usually a sign of a subconscious struggle. And we'll get into those perspectives later in the video. But last time I shared a dream with y'all, it was about Samantha, and I read all sorts of theories in the comment section, and it's fun to speculate and psychoanalyze dreams, I guess, right? So the dream started with me in group therapy. I was sitting on a chair, and that was facing like a bunch of other people, right? It was like a circle of chairs, and all of us were facing one another. We were outside, but we were in a caged area, if that makes any sense. And I remember someone was like, Andre, can you help bring out the lunch? It was somebody who wasn't in the group therapy. It was somebody outside the circle. They just like poked me like, Andre, can you bring the lunch? And I said, okay, sure. So I got up from the session and I went to the kitchen, and like this place, it was like a halfway house or maybe a hospital or something. And I was in the kitchen alone, but it was weird because when I was in the kitchen, there was a single Subway sandwich laying on the floor. It was so sus. Something told me though, in my head, in my dream, that I was like thinking that that sandwich was poisoned with cyanide. Still, knowing this, I picked up the sandwich and I cut it up on the counter, and I made sure all the proportions were even and everything like that. And then I brought the sandwiches out, and I walked out with a bunch of poison sandwiches, basically, right? What's the motto? What's Subway's motto? Subway eat fresh. It was like Subway New York City Rat Edition. But nobody noticed something was wrong with the sandwiches. I went back to the therapy session and everyone was eating their sandwich but me. And I remember someone asking me why. And I said, I'm not hungry. So boom, we're still in this group therapy, right? And people are, after eating the sandwich, people are collapsing and having seizures around me and stuff. And they're just dying on the spot. And the hospital doctor started screaming and administering like CPR and stuff. And they told us to all go to our rooms. So I did exactly that. I went back to my room and I just laid there in bed. And I remember I was reading the book of Kings from the Bible, literally just sitting there, like reading the Bible in my bed. And someone entered my room, and it was one of the other people in the group therapy we were doing. They're like, yo, Andre, they know it's you, bro. And I'm like, I'm just reading the Bible. What did I do wrong? And he's like, yeah, they think you did something, bro. And I replied, I never bother anyone. Like, I don't know why I would be suspected to do this. Then I saw the police and the doctor show up to my room, and they said, Andre, come with us. And I followed them back to that outside but caged area, right, where we were doing the group therapy. Somehow, though, when I returned, everyone was back to normal. Listen, cyanide is known to be one of the most dangerous poisons out there. I think if a human, I think what it does to your blood, it like completely, I forgot. I don't remember. I saw a video on it though, but I heard it's crazy. But they were like, the social worker was like, okay, Andre is here. Andre, can you explain to us why you poisoned everyone? And I'm just like sitting there like, really, bruh? And I knew they got me. They got me good here. They I don't know what else to say. So I said, okay, fine. I'll explain what happened. And my explanation, I still remember it. I said, this place that we're in right now is so terrible, and everyone here is miserable every single day. So I was just trying to do us all a favor, really, and just take us all out because we don't want to be here anymore. And I said that in a longer version, but nobody stopped me as I was explaining myself, or I was looking at everyone's facial expression and nothing was negative of oddity or anything like that. I said that everyone seemed to nod and agree with me as if something was wild, like this was okay to do, and it wasn't. But somehow in my dream, everyone sort of understood, and it made me feel okay about it. Then I woke up, and I already have a general idea of what this dream means to me, and you're free to share your own interpretation in the comments or whatever. I have this like weird paradox in my head often where I don't believe like I'm a good person and it's relatively toxic, or I'm relatively toxic to those who are around me. And in the end, I don't know, you hear my dog barking out there. Let's, I'm gonna do this video in one take, but yeah, I just don't feel like I'm a good person, and everyone around me is just has to suffer my burden of existing. And it's interesting because the trivial details of the dream are still significant. I saw the sandwich on the floor. I knew it was poisoned, but I still wanted to serve it. And like I said, I cut it up on the counter. I made sure everyone had the right proportions. I just wanted to help out because someone asked me to help. And here I am doing it the worst. And then the Bible part. I'm not even subscribed to anything related to that. But it's like a moment of where I remember saying in the dream, I'm not doing anything. I don't do anything. But I understand what the Bible may symbolize. Maybe I feel like I'm trying to find some sort of, I don't know, purity or holiness or recovery from my part or whatever, right? Whatever the things I've done. So like, I'm trying to self-improve, but at the same time, something pops up from recent events or past events. It's like everything catches up, everything I've done. But what disturbs me the most about this is that I've never, ever had a dream about hurting people before. I've had dreams getting into like fist fights, you know, when you like punch really slow and stuff, it's like you're underwater. Sure. But genuinely wiping everyone out? A murder dream? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just not right. But that's how I perceive the dream. Again, you can share how you perceive it. In psychology, they say that the context of one's dream showcases or is a reflection of the inner world that this person is experiencing. It's a subconscious world. Many of those who were heavy into psychoanalysis, scholars who studied the brain and the behavior of the brain, often quote Freud and his perspective on it. Sigmund Freud would say, dreams are just a road to the unconscious. What you find in someone's dreams is what is truly revealed to be someone's unresolved conflicts and desires. Do I agree with that? I think it makes sense. From how I perceived my dream, from a perspective of that, something to note is that nothing was aggressive. You know, if you really listen to the whole dream, I was never aggressive about anything. Usually those who have murder dreams often have very aggressive thoughts and ideas that someone is holding back. And you may be thinking, okay, well, nothing in the dream was aggressive. How cool. Maybe you have a lot of built-in aggression. I could tell you I do not. Okay, like, I don't know. I don't get mad about stuff like that, bro. Like, is that a bad thing that I don't get mad like that? I get irritated, but I don't have like all this built up anger like that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, having that sort of murder dream, according to people who do psychoanalysis, they talk about how that feeling is a want or a desire to eliminate everything or somebody. Maybe that's sort of scary to dwell about, right? Am I feeling the desire to eliminate? Maybe not in a violent case, but I do want a sense of isolation or everyone being gone from my life somehow. But not really, because everyone was okay in the dream. Remember, they came back from a cyanide poisoning. Listen, everyone just went right back to normal with the group therapy. Nobody seemed to care after that. Listen, there's also other perspectives about dreams where it said that a dream is simply your subconscious trying to relay messages to you. If you're into spirituality or some form of belief system that the universe is conscious and guides you through whatever force, maybe even an omnipotent being, some people perceive it as, or dreams as being a force or something trying to tell you something. What I'm afraid of with an ideology like that or a belief system like that is that, let's say you do believe that a dream is a language from the universe in some way. Well, this language is pure symbolism. It's not broken down to you like an essay or here's why I showed you this in that dream, you know? Another thing I've been very afraid about when it comes to dreams is that sometimes we consume so much of certain content, it ends up being desensitized in the mind. I'm not somebody who spends a lot of time watching violent things. I'm also not an aggressive person, like I was mentioning, nor do I even think or want people dead. If this sort of dream becomes frequent for me, right, where I start having dreams of like eliminating people to where it doesn't astonish me anymore, that might be an issue. That's kind of what happens when you watch like scary movies or violent stuff, that you grow very insensitive to it. A lot of people don't realize that oftentimes anger and aggression, the way they express it, they may be coming off like they will crash out on somebody. And I get it though, because oftentimes anger and aggression can be extremely dependent on what happened to you. Like a simple adjustment, or maybe a simple experience of injustice can make something go off in your head. If you push anybody too far, don't be surprised that they show you these signs or maybe even threaten you, because that's their solution. It's even worse when you're going through a lot in life, because a lot of mental health conditions prompt your emotions to act more dramatic than what it is. People on the internet be acting like all schizophrenic people are bound to be serial killers. What about that? Like, you know what it is? You know what it is about like schizophrenia is that many other conditions, they go through episodes of like something prompting them or encouraging them to take something farther than it needs to be. Like schizophrenia is not the only condition that does that to people, you know? And it's like going back to the desensitized and going through a lot in life conversation just now, right? When you've experienced violence in your life, naturally, you're so used to it that you might find yourself in a numbing situation about it. Let me tell you something. Yo, remember that story time about my ex? Like we were speaking and she was like, oh, I got pregnant, I had a kid. And I'm like, yo, so we split up and you get pregnant like immediately? Or listen, maybe I was getting cheated on. I don't know. But that same girl, she works at a hospital. She would rant to me all the time about things going wrong, like patients dying in front of her, medical emergencies that weren't handled correctly, blood going everywhere, like splattering on her skin, and seeing internal organs hanging out of people's bodies and that type of stuff. It makes me feel a little bit icky. When I was a kid, that type of stuff wouldn't bother me because I would watch like videos online of like, you know, you be seeing crazy stuff on Twitter, bro. But as I got older, I don't consume that type of stuff anymore. So now it's like uncomfortable to me. But to her, it's literally nothing to her. It's not only her job, but blood and all that sort of stuff is just what it is. I know I'm going on a tangent right now, but it's the same with violence. So used to it that you might even partake in it. I think what also happens is when you become like too isolated, or you consume too much of content, or maybe just hang around certain types of people who express or share this content with you, you end up having your judgment impaired in comparison to the rest of society. And depending on what that is, that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, it could be both. Sometimes your judgment gets so messed up, you start thinking about violence. This whole topic is very scary in general because most of us watching or listening, unless you are literally thinking about hurting people or committing acts of violence, we're not really into things that hurt innocent people. And I could use the word innocent very loosely because we live in a society where good and evil is very subjective to one's culture and personal beliefs. See, and that's why I was saying last video about religion and stuff. This is why you don't try to proselytize people. People get wild about their belief systems, you know? I mean, Do you guys ever have thoughts of homicide or dreams of it? You know what I think about? I think the last time or the only time I've really had thoughts of hurting someone was when someone put their hands on someone I loved, right? If one of my family members or whatever gets like attacked, I don't know, man. That's like I'm gonna do time for that. That's usually expected though, right? Unless you don't care if you see your family member or your loved one get beat up on, like I don't know. I feel like that's be most of our reactions, right? I don't think this is like something bizarre for me to say that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't seem bizarre. Not to be disrespectful or rude to those who say that they consistently have homicidal dreams or thoughts. Okay, not to be rude to y'all. Okay, don't kill me. I feel like sometimes having that knee jerk reaction can be a little bit black and white, maybe. I always said in my videos that I feel like people who like hit their kids, it shows you can't actually like rationalize something to something less intelligent than you. Same with like owning pets. Yeah, I get it. Something like a dog, you got to be like, hey, and you just alert them, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe, sometimes, but listen, if you're full blown beating your pets or your children because you can't set the stage without physical violence and assert yourself as something more intelligent and then as a leader, then I feel like that's an issue. But then again, I've only raised dogs my whole life. I don't have children. Two different experiences completely. It's just going to violence as your first choice is like an all or nothing type of way of thinking. If you do this, then I'm going to physically harm you or kill you. I mean, you can say that depends on the topic though. Like I just said the same about someone hurting someone I love. If you put hands on my loved one, it's all or nothing. There's physical violence. But see, again, to be in that situation, right? My loved one has to already be in an all or nothing situation where they're being attacked right now or they're fighting somebody. So I have to fight to defend them as well. So maybe that doesn't even count as the same thing. Okay, man, here's a better way to think about this. And I want to move to the next part of this video. This relates to even the loved one example. When we think about this type of mentality, sometimes we look at certain things as completely good or completely evil. Like, for example, someone hurting my loved one is completely evil to me because we like to add on our own personal beliefs into our moral compass and reactions. As a result, our emotions are more dramatic. We don't always look at everything from the start. My friend told me something the other day, and I spoke about it last video when he told me that that story about that guy. Remember in the last video? Anyway, so he told me, he said, Andre, I'm like a big brother to you. You're like the brother I never had. Even when you're wrong, I'll be there to defend you and act like you're right. But that doesn't mean I won't pull you to the side after and be like, hey, this ain't it, Andre. I think you were wrong. But, in front of other people, I'll still defend you. You get what I'm saying? So you see, we let interpersonal things get in the way of understanding if we truly think something is malicious or harmful. I could be wrong about a topic in a video. If you take it personally, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. Maybe you might leave a comment or you may DM me on Instagram and be like, hey, Aku, recent video. I think you said something or you did something wrong. But do you look at me as someone completely harmful? Did I just make a mistake? Did I have a lapse in judgment? It happens to all of us. But if you don't understand that and immediately go straight to violence or the worst possible situation, like someone is like a demon or something, or just, you know what I'm saying? Like, or think about violence. That's what I mean about it's a bit black and white about situations. Also consider sometimes minor conveniences. People may be paranoid to believe such a small issue is going to become a major threat or create harm that is unstoppable. When you feel this way, right, that something so small is going to blow up to be like a bigger issue that you can't stop or is going to go crazy, right? When you see this, you either close up or you defend yourself and get very aggressive. These are the type of things that you build up frustration and stress about. And then ultimately, now you have psychologically dark thoughts of homicide or many other things. I want to be able to come off to somebody who can listen, understand, and talk. That's how I want to be. I'm not a physical violence type of person. My last option would be violence. But of course, some of you may disagree. I know some of you feel that there is a justification to aggressive behavior. You feel threatened by somebody or something, or the way you perceive something is slighted, in my opinion. Okay, right? So you may feel that you got to be aggressive about it. Look, I've been there too. Okay, this is where people start hating on other people for stuff. Anytime somebody feels any person is a sort of threat to themselves, they'll be obsessive over about it, and then they'll be aggressively hating on you or whatever you try to do. It's survival instinct, the psychological responses. Even though dreams are filled with symbolism, sometimes they can appear very black and white. Hence why I said I'm concerned about how we perceive these signs we get. Nightmares are rooted from anxiety and fear. What can that truly mean if you're out there having murder dreams at the same time? Most importantly, dreams are filled with things that don't make sense. Fantasies. Filled with them. Where does that really push you next? Homicidal dreams, thoughts of murder, scary stuff, I guess. And again, if you're already having this, it's probably not scary to you because you're used to it. It just shows how vast the human brain can really be, right? I hope everyone listening or watching, things eventually clear out with this if you do experience it, or if you ever experienced it before, or maybe you're going to experience it later in your life. Who knows? Something may really get you very frustrated, and then you find a way to express it inside of your head. My dream, very non-aggressive, very symbolic in a sense, where it's like, okay, this is how I want things to just go away a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the dream is about like, I could tell it's about toxicity. I could tell it's about my actions and me trying to help turning into something that ends up being bad. I just made a sandwich. I thought it would help that I would still make it anyway, even though I saw it on the floor. And then my mind told me that this wasn't okay because, like, you know, it had cyanide poisoning in it. I just didn't listen to my brain. I was listening to my heart. And then I gave it to people because I'm just trying to be nice, and I tried proportions. Next thing you know, they're all having seizures and stuff. And next thing you know, I'm trying to think about self-improvement, and things just come up again, you know? And whether you have a dream like that in the future, anything like that, again, hopefully, I don't know. The fact that this is one of my first dreams where I'm doing this, I'm definitely going to be careful to what I consume the next few days and so forth. I'm not going to watch any movies with violence or poisoning type of things. I need to like really keep my mind in a good fashion. I don't want to become desensitized, because once that happens, then these type of dreams will keep happening, and then my brain will think it's normal. And then that's going to be a big issue. Anyway, watch the sun bleed. It's our time to go out while we watch the sun down. Watch the sun down. Watch the sun down. Watch the sun down, down, down. I got what I asked for, but I think it's never mine. We try to shine our own way, but the stars are not aligned. Laser on the heat, best bet you better hide. Said to do what's best, now my thoughts are on decline. Take a trip with me, we can share confessions. What's next for us? That's a loaded question. You go first, you have the best expressions. I'm looking up now, I see a dark sky heaven. Watch the sun bleed, it's our time to go out while we watch the sun down. Silent guy, forever peace, now there's no doubt. While we watch the sun down, fears are